In today's show, Perth's pitch gets the tick of approval from the ICC. We debate where Travis Head bats in the order, and we pick our 11s for both sides for the second test at the Gabba. Well, welcome to the West Sports Show. The Poms have gone. They've jumped on a plane. They're on their way to the Gabba. The English fans have been to Rottnest. They've been to Cottesloe Beach. They've been all over Perth. Welcome, Jackson Barrett, Chief Cricket Writer for the West Australian.
Thanks, Quarters. Good to be on.
They have been everywhere. You know what I've seen wandering around Perth? Lost Englishmen.
Yeah, I was in a department store the other day and a guy in a full England test kit wandered in. And I figured that he probably had tickets to be somewhere else for the day, but ended up at Garden City or wherever I was. So shout out to him trying to find his way through the southern
Bad for Cricket
suburbs
Australia,
of Perth.
but fantastic in terms of tourism here because people
Great
have
for
checked
tourism.
out our city. And I've got to say, overwhelmingly, the fans that I've spoken to, I went up to Lilac Hill because they were there watching the English Lions play against England Lions play against our Cricket Australia 11. Had nothing else to do, and they were really good sports about it. They were like, "Look, we get it. It was crap, but we still back them." And God, it's a nice place to be trapped for a few days.
Yeah, and there were some horror stories of people who only had tickets to day 3 and people who had only come down under for the Perth test and cop 2 days of cricket and that sort of thing. But they were good sports about it. They got behind the England Lions in that game and they snapped up things like ferries to Rottnest and they were wandering around the city and drinking at the pubs and buying coffees. And so I reckon it was a good couple of days for Perth nonetheless.
Was 8-wicket loss in that game too, I might add. So 847 balls and it was all over 2 days, 19 wickets on day 1. But I think you and I are both in agreement. It was a good pitch, prepared really well by ground staff. And today, a bit of news. The ICC match referee rated the pitch as very good. They have a 4-tier rating system, and very good is the highest ranking, characterising a pitch with good carry, limited seam movement, and consistent bounce early in the match, allowing for a balanced contest between batters and bowlers. I think this was classically a case of the bowlers were really good and England's Bazball was very undisciplined.
Yeah, the criteria there for a very good wicket is the perfect description of this cricket wicket. Nothing leapt up off a length, nothing went underground, nothing jagged massively. The best dismissals of the day were like that Starc's one to Stokes that were really skillful bowling. And there was nothing out of the ordinary. The pitch played really well. And just like last year, if they had pushed through and we did have a day 3, that would have been the best batting conditions. Travis Head got the best batting conditions of the lot. Obviously, his innings was incredibly special as well. But if that game had been pushed out to day 3, that would have been a pretty good batting wicket. We spoke about it in the lead-up, but Jaiswal and Kohli both made hundreds.
They did.
On that deck in a monster score that spanned across the end of day 2 and into day 3. So, yeah, that was a really, really good cricket wicket that probably didn't get the opportunity to shine. And it was a case of 2 days of world-class bowling beating pretty questionable batting.
The way I saw it, Archer, who's played, 2 tests in 4 years, Wood, who'd played not a red ball game since February, I think, they had to back up too quickly. So when they came into bowl in the second innings, on a wicket that was still doing something, early at least, they were 5-10 k's off their pace, and so Head and Weatherald I thought batted really well in terms of left the balls they needed to leave, blocked a few, and then when the pace came off the ball a little bit and the wicket started favouring batting a bit more, Head just went to town. His eyes lit up. It said a lot, I think, about the fitness of Archer and Wood, and it said a lot about the temperament of Head.
Yeah, well, I spoke to 7 commentator Matthew Hayden about Travis Head. Singled him out because I pulled him aside because I wanted him to be the guy, the greatest attacking opener we've ever had, to talk about this incredible innings. And he told me that the thing he loved most about it was the way he left the ball early in the innings.
He looked, yeah.
So that certainly wasn't quite what I was expecting, and it's the same for Weatherald. Weatherald and Head left the ball really well. Head was, I think, 3 off 14 before he hit his first boundary of the innings. And then by then England were bowling short and he took what the bowling gave him. So I don't think Travis Head did anything remarkably different to anyone else except the first 14, 15 balls of his innings is where he was able to get himself set.
So he looked like a proper opener, okay? And we know he's open in the white ball form of the game. And so here's the debate at the moment. Let's see where you're at and where I'm at. So does Travis Head open in the second test at the Gabba from December 4 till 8.
Yeah, I have Travis Head opening. So I think Usman Khawaja loses his spot. I think it's been a sustained run of poor form. I recognise that dropping a guy after one test of an Ashes series is harsh, but I think we've seen enough of Usman Khawaja now to know that he's not going to come off more times than Travis Head is in this series. As in, he's not going to do what Travis Head did. He may not pass 50 in this series. Whereas if Travis Head opens the batting, there is a risk that not being a long-term opener, he might sneak off to the pink ball or he might get a good one from Archer. But anyone can get a good one from Archer, and Travis Head might just come off 3 or 4 times. And if he plays 3 innings half as good as that, Australia probably wins the Ashes series. So I think they need to ride the wave with this a little bit. The other thing for me is Khawaja's fitness worries me. Leave the golf stuff aside. The fact that he's 39 and he's had back spasms 20 overs into a day's play, I think is a pretty worrying sign. And I know that lots of veteran players have had back spasms and that, yes, they come and go in 36, 48 hours, you're fine. But I think the fact that he's had them 20 overs into the summer of cricket is a major concern.
I'll back up your argument and then I'll dispute it. I also think his eyes are going a bit, as they're expected to at that age. Very reliable slip fielder, but nearly stuffed one up and dropped another.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit of a sign for me. So that sort of supports your argument a bit. I'm saying there's a bit longer to recover from this. Back spasms you can get over pretty quickly. I just always defer to the Australian selectors, are very conservative, and I think they stick with him. We're 1-0 up. I think they stick with him, and I don't think the 11 changes too much. Maybe the pace attack might, but I'm going to stick with him, and I like Head at 5, and I thought it was one of the greatest innings I've seen in a long time. But I think it was a bit of a break glass situation, had to play him at the top of the order. I'm just a bit loath to change it up for him too much. I really like him at 5, so I'm sticking with that.
I like him at 5 as well, but I think in this case, it was a break glassing, but I think sometimes the best decisions are the ones that you're forced into a little bit. And the way I view it is that there are more replacement options who can add value at number 5 than there are opening the batting. So if Head comes into open, the number 5 options are Webster, Inglis. There are reports around that Mitch Marsh is going to come into the frame in this series. Matt Renshaw can probably bat anywhere in that top 6 and has added a more up-tempo game to the way he goes about it. So there are more options of guys that can come in and do that job comfortably. Marsh and Inglis both have test hundreds in that position. Webster's had a really good start to life in test cricket and was stiff to be dropped. So for me, it's Inglis in that spot because I don't think they need the extra Webster bowling. And I just think you have to, ride the wave a little bit with Travis Head.
I just really like what I saw from Weatherall. First innings just copped an absolute classic, so you can't do much about that. But I thought the second innings showed a little bit of patience and then showed us a little bit of what he's got in tough conditions, in an absolute furnace. It doesn't get much hotter than that in Test cricket. Thought he showed a lot, so I'm sticking with him. I'd even be tempted, if you're going to drop Khawaja, to play Renshaw. Okay. Great form, just scored another ton at the Gabba in Shield cricket.
Pink ball.
And I think that, and pink ball. So I'm just a bit loath to change Travis Head, but I certainly understand the wave, the momentum call.
Yeah.
And one thing's for sure, wherever he bats, geez, good to watch Travis Head.
Yeah, he's brilliant to watch. I mean, that was a really special innings, but I think for the first 40 balls, it was nothing remarkable, which I think makes it even more special in a way.
Well, it shows that he was seeing it out. He was playing the patience game.
And then you have a look at, the field wasn't up for very long, but while it was up, he picked his balls and he waited for some slot stuff and some shorter stuff to go over the top. And then once the field spread, he just found ways to milk them. And I did a piece for the West on Sunday breaking down each one of those deliveries. And the further you get down, there are more singles in the mix because he was given them and he was able to milk them. And then some of the shots, like the 3 boundaries off the over of Ben Stokes, were just remarkable cricket strokes.
And a good statement against the opposing
Great
captain
statement.
too. As Dean Jones would say, he went cocoa bananas.
Yeah.
That's what he used to say. So before we get on to the bowling, so my 11 hasn't changed for the second test. I could consider maybe Nisa for Doggett, but I'm probably going to stick with the 11.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly playing Nathan Lyon because he's getting picked in my 11 if available and fit, which there's some conjecture over his fitness? Or
Yep.
is he be okay?
I think he'll be okay. So he copped a knock facing Mark Wood, batting up at number 9 in the first innings, and was sore and had a whopping bruise to show for it by the sounds of it. Was impacted in the field a little bit, but being just bruising, I think he'll probably be okay.
Put his hand up to open.
He did. Well, I think his hand was put up to open.
Yeah.
And then he had the pads on at one point at number 4 as well. I don't know if that was a night watchman situation or they were protecting maybe Khawaja or whatever. But I think the conjecture around Lyon's position in the side is that he bowled 2 overs and Cam Green bowled 1 over in the first innings.
No, it's only 2 days. He would have bowled.
It was only 2 days, but are these games going to go much longer is the question.
The pink ball may not.
Correct. I think in this case, this game will go for a little bit longer. Remember, it's not a pink ball game in Adelaide, so it's not the combination of the pink ball with the 10 mils of grass. There'll be less grass, it'll be harder, the ball will get softer earlier, and good judges tell you that it can actually be pretty good for batting the pink ball up in Brisbane. We've seen 2 of them now. Australia beat Pakistan in 2019 and lost to West Indies a couple of years ago, the Shamar Joseph game. So there are runs to be had there once the air goes out of that ball. And I think the risk of not picking Lyon is that you can be sucked into bowling long donkey overs without Lyon to mix it up. So I think he's really important in there. I would seriously consider that change. You mentioned I loved what Brendan Doggett brought in the first game, and he would be incredibly stiff to be dropped. And I wasn't hot on Nisa at the start of the summer. I think he's probably dropped 8 to 10 kilometres in his bowling. Jimmy Pearson kept up to him for Queensland, which is always worrying. But I think for 2 factors, he's an expert with the pink ball. All his test matches have been pink ball tests. I think he's played 2 matches, both in Adelaide. It's his home ground. He knows the conditions really well. He offers something a little bit different to that attack, and he bats as well. I just think I've never been a massive believer in picking bowlers to lengthen your batting order, but I did think Starc at 8, Lyon at 9 looked a little bit thin, particularly when you look at England and how good Atkinson and Cass were with the bat. I think there might be value in Nisa coming in and batting 8 to push Starc to 9 and Lyon to 10.
We'll get on to Cummins in a moment, but first, Jacko, I want you to check this out. A shipment of Bowers and Wilkins PX7 S2E headphones has just landed in Australia, mate. Yes, it's a mouthful, but they're very good on the ears, I can tell you. Exclusive to West Coast Hi-Fi and on sale for just $429 during their booming Black Friday sale. They have come packaged with features including noise cancelling and extended listening with 30 hours from a single charge. Hurry in and feel the experience during the West Coast Hi-Fi booming Black Friday sale. Ends November 29. Speaking of booming, you had a chat to Kim Hughes and we're talking about this England bowling attack, and he said it was comparable to the great West Indies attack that he faced.
Yeah, so the first innings he said they were, and I think in aggression, in pace, in relentlessness, in the fact that there were no opportunities for the batters to drop off and lose concentration, I think he's about right. You know, the most aggressive attack potentially we've seen since then. We know that England have been grooming this bunch for 3 or 4 years to come out here and bowl fast. But what Kim was saying was that it was chalk and cheese to the second innings, and he worried greatly about their fitness and their ability to get through an Ashes campaign. That's aside to the obvious injury proneness of Archer and Wood. This is more about match fitness and the fact that if they're only going to have, sub 50 over break, they're going to find it really difficult to back up. And it was chalk and cheese, as Kim said, in the second innings. We've spoken about that second innings bowling performance. It was too short. It was down on pace. It lacked inspiration. Archer seemed to get some kind of second wind when Travis Head was on about 90. But other than that, it was lifeless, really, particularly when you compare it to the first innings. So I was really quite taken by the first innings. I thought that was incredibly impressive. And if they can do that, if they can put a first 30 overs together like that twice in each match, I think they are incredibly competitive in this series. But as Kim said, they don't appear incredibly match fit. Their speed's dropped. Ben Stokes was asked directly about that, and he said he kind of put it down to the energy of the first day and the hype leading into the first day and the adrenaline and just having your tail up for the first day of an Ashes. But I don't really see that as being acceptable. I think you need to have your tail up every time you bowl, particularly in a series like this. So I mean, Kim was a advocate of all of them going to Canberra and playing this PM's 11 game, which has been the story post-match, particularly in England, the fact that none of the 11 that played in Perth are going to Canberra to play with a pink ball. Kim, like some others, like Michael Vaughan, was an advocate for them all going. Some would like to see the batters go. Listening to Ed Cowan this morning saying that he would have liked to have seen guys like Zach Crawley actually put their hands up themselves and say, no, like, I need this. I want to go and have a hit. So that's kind of been the debate. I mean, Alex Stewart came out and backed the decision not to send them yesterday. So, it was a really interesting chat, a long piece with Kim Hughes in the paper kind of diagnosing some of the worries for England.
You mentioned the Kim Hughes in the West Indies before, and credit, Archer and Wood certainly looked pretty scary in that first innings. But when you have, Andy Roberts, the assassin, Michael Holding, whispering death, and then you change to, Joel Garner and you've got, Malcolm Marshall coming in. I think he was 12th man in that test.
It was 20 years worth of that calorie quicks, wasn't it? It was unbelievable.
And that pitch at the MCG that Kim faced, that was jumping all over the place. Some were staying low, some were jumping up like cobras, and it's a great call, and they looked pretty scary in that. I don't think anyone enjoyed facing them in the first innings.
No,
but the impressive thing is they found their way through it.
Yeah.
And I think there was a big statement. So it's going to be interesting, the pink ball test at the Gabba. I don't think they make a change, England. Injury aside, I think they're going to be pretty much rusted on. Speaking to Ricky Ponting a week or so ago, he said they're committed to this Bazball philosophy. Whether they admit it or not, they're all in on Bazball, as we saw in the first test.
Yeah.
And he said they're not going to change their top order. And they're not going to change their attack because that's what underlines it. But the top order, they're committed to it, so they're not going to change their philosophies. So I'm not sure if we can see. I mean, Pope was okay. I'm not sure if they're going to change the number 3. So no change for me.
I think Pope looked one of their better bats, to be honest. Looked organised, looked still at the crease, waited for Boland to overpitch in the first innings. I don't think they'll change. I don't think they'll change their philosophy at all. And I almost don't want them to, because they've spent 3 years doing it. I don't think you can change mid-series. Yeah, you can refine it, and people have spoken about Bazball light. Michael Vaughan calls it Bazball with brains, whatever you want to call it. It might need some tinkering and refining based on conditions.
No brains in the first test.
Well, they did none of that in Perth. None of the tinkering to conditions.
Dig in, hang around, make another 80 runs.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Yeah.
We're under more pressure.
Well, I think they either completely misread the wicket or didn't care to think about it. Because if they got to day 3, they would have found some lovely batting conditions. Potentially should have considered bowling first in hindsight.
But they never, ever bowl first.
No, they don't. But I mean, I think the key in Perth is to try and target that end of day 2, day 3 period for batting. And they just didn't look like getting there whatsoever. But you've spent so long doing it, you kind of need to do it now and just wear the consequences. I did a comment piece in the West today that basically you can do whatever you like, but you have to bear the consequences. And I think if they lose this Ashes series, particularly McCullum's role would come into heavy questioning, and potentially Stokes as well. I know that over there he is a very highly regarded captain, but I think if it goes this wrong after the regime building up to this, I think, serious questions are going to have to be asked of a whole number of those guys. You can put Crawley in there.
Yeah,
maybe Crawley is a victim of a style that doesn't necessarily suit him. Maybe Pope's the same. But I think all of those guys are going to be under a lot of pressure if they go even 2-0 down here.
You mentioned Crawley. We haven't really spoken about Starc. And while we've been, obviously speaking volumes of Travis Head and one of the great knocks, but what a great performance from Mitchell Starc under pressure. No Cummins, no Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Took the leadership responsibilities on his shoulders and man of the match. And I thought was very much entitled to that man of the match honour.
Yeah, I've flicked between Head and Starc as man of the match.
Recency bias, I reckon, a bit.
Potentially recency bias. I think the case for Head is that he did something that no one else was able to do on that wicket. But Starc was unbelievable. And the reason I probably land with Starc is that he performed. And he was probably the only Australian, maybe Doggett, but not to the same level, to have performed over 2 innings. And I think that entitles him to that. He was unbelievable. There's a lot of talk around this like angled seam ball that he's perfected, but it has become an incredible weapon. The idea being really that He's got
Starc?
this Starc.
Yeah, the wobbly seam.
Yeah, the wobbly seam. The idea being that like he brings it in back to the right hander 1,000 times, and then he's got this one that can kind of like play off the seam a little bit and go the other way. And that got Stokes out. That got caused heaps of problems for England as well. But I think the remarkable thing about Mitchell Starc, and he's about to pass Wasim Akram as the greatest left arm quick of all time by wickets. He's 2 down, so you'd think he gets that in Brisbane. Is the fact that the last 2 or 3 years of his career have been the best, and that his bowling average keeps going down across the last half decade, which is really unheard of for a guy that's now 35. He's also had career best figures in his last 2 matches. So that chaotic pink ball game, the last one in the West Indies, and then this one here were both his career best figures. To do it without his 2 running mates was remarkable, and I think it puts Australia in a massive position of strength to now be bolstering an attack with potentially Hazelwood, a little bit dicey on his availability, but certainly Cummins at some stage, and this is just going to be an incredible attack by the time they all get back together.
So do you see Cummins coming in? So I think he's more likely for the 3rd test in Adelaide, but I think he's an outside chance, I'd say, for this test.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. So I think the fact that they go 1-0 up, they probably lean on the conservative end, but the fact that he was bowling with a pink ball in Sydney earlier this week indicates that they've not ruled him out. So
it's also a bit of a signal to England too.
I think so as well. Yeah, but
he looked really good in the nets here. I saw him bowl in the net. Had 2 nets in the one day here. I think the day before looked super quick and looked good. Looked rhythmic. Didn't look like he was under any duress.
Yeah,
but they're very cautious because of the injury that it is. So they need to be careful with him.
And I think the pink ball thing is just. It feels different coming out of your fingers. Like you do need to practice with it from a bowling point of view as well, which I think is underrated a little bit. And it just shows that they've not ruled him out. And yeah, like you said, plays on England a little bit while there.
So mine hasn't changed. Give us your 11.
So I'm
Australian 11. Is your England 11 changing?
No, it's not. I think they're way up playing Bashir. But
Would they play Bashir in the...
I think they'll consider it given the idea that the air can come out of the ball pretty quickly, and Australia could make them do some time in the dirt. But I think given the bonus for England is in the 2-day test matches that Archer and Wood will back up. I don't think anyone expected both of them to play the first and the second. But now it's this like mega break, 12-day break between tests.
Yeah.
I do, and with the series now very much on the line, I think they play. I don't think Atkinson or Cass is droppable as well. So I think Bashir misses out and England stays the same. For Australia, I am Head and Weatherall. We've discussed the Head stuff. Labuschagne, Smith, Inglis to come in and bat 5, Green to bat 6. You can play around with that 5-6 combo. Webster stiff, but I just don't think you'll need that amount of overs. Given
That's what I was going to say. You wouldn't err on the side of Webster just for the bowling.
I don't think you're going to need if you're picking Lyon and Green. I don't think you're going to need that many overs, especially the way that England are.
How'd you see Green's performance?
Yeah, he was the first innings. He came in at a difficult period with the bat. And looked okay, but played a shot he'll be really disappointed with, playing it a long way outside his body. His bowling, he took the wicket of Pope, LBW. We didn't really get the chance to see him kind of dig in with the ball. But I still think he's incredibly handy, and his bowling looks like it's coming along really well. We saw that in the Shield game.
You still got him ahead of Webster for that all-rounder spot?
Yeah, I've got him ahead.
I'm a one all-rounder man, by the way. I'm just a one.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
And that's with huge respect for Webster, and he is so stiff.
He is very stiff. He is very stiff. But there are stories like that littered through Australian cricket, aren't there? Guys that just came in at the wrong time.
Martin Love,
Stewie McGill comes to mind in the case of just being stuck behind a generational guy that cricket Australia have invested heavily in. That's kind of the situation I see now. Webster will probably play a lot of cricket for Australia over the years.
99% of wicket keepers as well.
Yes, correct. yeah.
Why you would pick
all
that.
of them?
It's ridiculously hard.
Speaking of wicket keepers, Kerry at 7.
Yep.
I'm going to go Neser at 8, Starc, Lyon, Boland. Doggett incredibly stiff. I really liked what he offered. He's bowling good pace.
Yeah.
He nips it around. The height is something different.
Yeah, I loved his game.
And I mean, with Cummins coming back, potentially he doesn't play again this series, but I think there's still time for him to play a bit of cricket for Australia.
Cricket tipping is back with the game, and there's $26,000 in cash to be won this season. Each week, the top tipper wins $1,000, and the top tipper for the season wins $20,000. All thanks to McDonald's. Rally your mates and start your own competition. It's fast, free, and easy to play. You can even tip against cricket legend Justin Langer. Use code Langer25 to join Langer's Legends. Follow the link in the episode description or go to thegame.com.au to sign up today. That's the Game Cricket Tipping Competition. Jacko, before we go, a little bit of conjecture about the future of the West Test. So it's locked in for another year next year, the New Zealand series. And then we know that Cricket Australia was here having talks with state government officials, with Venues West, regarding the future. Now, obviously, the Gab has put its hands up, wants to host it once the new stadium's built, I think, because it's hired at that stadium at the moment. But what do you think? Where are you leaning? Do you think we get this West Test? Let's be honest, sold out first 2 days, would have been sold out day 3.
Yep.
You know, and the pitch was fine. It's this morning been rated. So it's not – I think we've done everything right to keep the first Test here, and I like the feel of it.
Yeah. I don't think Perth has put a foot wrong in the 3 years of this deal, or the 2 years to date of this deal. Last year was brilliant. It's the perfect place for the build-up to happen. The drama around England out at Lilac Hill, which is a ground with history around it, and then coming into Optus, the whole precinct just lighting up for a couple of days. It certainly wasn't the deck's fault or Perth's fault that the game wasn't extended past 2 days. And I think the Brisbane case has had a rocket put up it by the comments made by Mitchell Starc, who kind of indicated in a press conference that the players would like to be playing in Brisbane or question the move away from Brisbane. And David Warner said something similar, but Steve Smith, taking, you would think, as captain, a slightly more official party line, was very appreciative of Perth. Locked in for next year against New Zealand. My understanding is that that initial deal could have been longer because, remember, Melbourne, Adelaide and Sydney signed longer deals than we did in Perth. My understanding is part of the issue was the fixturing of the 27 50-over World Cup and when that test might actually be, like if there was actually going to be room for a test at that part of November. But, yeah, as you reported before the match, talks are underway to extend that, and I would imagine that that's looking pretty positive. Everyone I speak to indicates that that looks pretty positive. And then Brisbane might come back into the frame once that's done up for the Olympics.
Thanks, Jacko.
Thanks, Quarters.
Just one without notice. Give me your series result now after the first Test.
I was 3-1 at the start, and I think I'm going to stick with it. I think let's count on a washout in Sydney because there certainly won't be any draws, and I just think England's bowling might carry them to a win in one of these games. I wouldn't rule that out in Brisbane either. So I'm going to stick with 3-1.
I'm going 3-1 too.
Yeah.
I'm saying that keep your eye on the sky for the Gabba because it is that time of year. It's very stormy. Could be a bit of rain. So I'm hoping not.
Yeah.
I'm hoping not.
Another reason not to play the first Test in Brisbane.
I still think 3-1, and I sort of hope 3-1 in a way because I want the series to be alive and let's see what happens there. But thanks for your time, mate. And we'll catch up with you very soon.
Cheers.
And remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music.